Imagine spending your entire life learning how to lie, steal, and manipulate people just to survive. And then, at the very end, you finally decide that you want to become a different person. That is where we find Lucky Armstrong. She has spent the entire season running from the FBI, running from dangerous criminals, running from betrayal, and perhaps most importantly, running from her own past. But now there is nowhere left to go, because in episode 6, Lucky finally made the decision that could change everything. She surrendered. But surrendering was never going to be enough, because Lucky's enemies are still out there. Her father John is in danger, Priscilla wants answers, Wayne Whittaker wants the missing money, and the FBI wants to bring the entire operation crashing down. And now all of these people are heading toward the same collision. The 7th episode is titled All Good Things. Episode 6 brings Lucky and John to a critical point. Instead of continuing to run, they surrender to the FBI. It sounds crazy. After everything Lucky has done to avoid capture, why would she suddenly walk straight into federal custody? Because Lucky finally understands something. Running forever isn't freedom. It's another kind of prison. So Lucky makes a deal with Agent Billy Rand. She agrees to help the FBI bring down Priscilla and Wayne Whittaker. And this is where the finale begins to take shape. The plan is simple on paper. Lucky will help create a situation where Whittaker can get access to the missing money. The FBI will be waiting. Once Whittaker arrives, they make the arrest. Simple, clean, controlled. Except this is Lucky, and nothing stays controlled for long. While Lucky is preparing for the meeting, John is being guarded at a hotel. Then the plan suddenly turns into a nightmare. Agent Eli Gates is attacked and killed. Just like that, one of the FBI's own agents is gone, and John's protection disappears with him. Now think about what this means. Lucky has agreed to cooperate with the FBI, but the FBI has just lost one of its agents. John is exposed. Whittaker is still out there. Priscilla is still out there. And Lucky is heading directly toward the meeting. The entire operation is collapsing around her. And there is one terrifying possibility hanging over everything. What if the FBI no longer has control of the situation? Lucky knows better than anyone that a plan can change in seconds. She has survived this entire season because she can adapt. But adapting comes with a price. Every time Lucky has escaped one danger, she has usually created another. And now there may be no safe option left. If she keeps the FBI deal, she risks John. If she abandons the deal, she could become a target for both sides. If she goes after Whittaker herself, she may never get another chance to walk away. And then there is Priscilla. This is where the emotional side of the finale becomes especially important. Priscilla has already lost Carrie, and Lucky was directly connected to that tragedy. Even if Lucky didn't pull the trigger herself, she was there. She was part of the chain of events that ended with Carrie dead. So when Lucky and Priscilla finally come face to face, this isn't simply going to be a confrontation between two criminals. It's personal. Priscilla has spent much of the season trying to control the situation, but grief changes people, and desperation makes people unpredictable. Then we have Wayne Whittaker. Wayne represents something even larger. He is the criminal world Lucky has been trying to escape. The world of deals, threats, money, violence, and power. Lucky wants freedom. Wayne wants control. Those two goals cannot peacefully coexist. So the final confrontation is almost inevitable. But there is another question. What about John? Because Lucky's relationship with her father has always been complicated. John taught her how to survive, but he also helped create the person she is trying to escape from. Lucky loves him. She needs him. But she also needs to stop allowing her past to control her future. And that may be the hardest choice she has ever faced, because saving John could mean sacrificing herself, and escaping could mean leaving him behind. No one expected the finale to become this personal, but now every major conflict in Lucky's life is pointing toward one moment, and that moment is getting closer. At this point, we need to step back, because Lucky has never really been a story about stolen money. The money is just the object everyone is chasing. The real story is identity. Who is Lucky? Is she a criminal? A survivor? A daughter? A wife? A victim? Or someone who can finally choose her own future? That's why the title of the finale is so interesting. All good things. The phrase normally suggests that good things eventually come to an end, and that could be exactly what this finale is about. Lucky's old life has to end, but ending a life doesn't necessarily mean dying.
Sometimes it means finally letting go. Lucky has spent years carrying the lessons her father gave her. She knows how to manipulate people. She knows how to disappear. She knows how to lie. She knows how to survive. But now she has to learn something much harder: how to live without running. That is the real challenge, and episode 7 puts that challenge directly in front of her. The FBI deal was supposed to be Lucky's escape route, but after Gates is killed, that route becomes uncertain. And this creates the possibility of the ultimate Lucky move. She may have to stop following everyone else's plan and create her own. Think about the person we met in episode 1. That Lucky was constantly reacting. Someone betrayed her, she responded. Someone chased her, she escaped. Someone threatened her, she outsmarted them. But as the season progressed, Lucky became more deliberate. She stopped simply surviving. She started making choices. And surrendering to the FBI may be the biggest choice of all, because Lucky is finally saying, I don't want this life anymore. But wanting freedom and earning freedom are two completely different things, especially when the people around you don't want you to have it. That's why Whittaker is so dangerous. If Lucky gets away, he loses power. If Priscilla gets caught, her entire world collapses. And if the FBI fails, they lose the case. Everyone has something to lose, which means everyone has a reason to fight. And that is exactly how an explosive confrontation happens. One person makes a move, someone else responds, another person changes the plan, and suddenly, everything falls apart. The most interesting possibility is that Lucky's greatest weapon won't be a gun. It will be what she has always had, her ability to read people. Lucky understands criminals because she grew up around them. She understands the FBI because she has spent the entire season running from them. And she understands betrayal because she has experienced it firsthand. That puts her in a unique position. She may be the only person capable of predicting what everyone else will do. But there is a catch. For once, Lucky cannot simply think about herself. John is involved. The FBI is involved. Priscilla is involved. Whittaker is involved. And every choice has consequences. So the final twist may not be about who gets the money. It may be about what Lucky is willing to sacrifice to finally become free. And that brings us to the ending.
Lucky has 3 goals: protect John, survive Priscilla and Whittaker, and earn her freedom. The problem? She may not be able to accomplish all 3. That's what makes the finale so dangerous. Throughout the series, Lucky has always found a way out: a disguise, a lie, a clever trick, a perfectly timed escape. But the final episode is different. There may be nowhere left to run, and that's why the confrontation matters. For the first time, Lucky may have to stand still. She may have to face the people hunting her. She may have to face Priscilla. She may have to face Whittaker. And most importantly, she may have to face John. Because eventually, Lucky has to confront the truth about where she came from. John gave her the skills that kept her alive, but those same skills kept her trapped. And if Lucky really wants a new life, she has to decide what she is willing to leave behind. Maybe that's what all good things means. Not that Lucky's story has to end badly, but that one version of Lucky has to end. The criminal, the fugitive, the woman who always expects betrayal, the daughter who believes survival is more important than trust. That Lucky has survived, but she may not be able to continue living that way. And that's the hidden meaning behind the entire series. Lucky thought she was running away from the people chasing her, but she was actually running away from the person she had been taught to become. The money was never enough. The escape was never enough. Even surviving wasn't enough. She needed a choice, a real choice, and the final confrontation gives her that choice. If she chooses revenge, she remains connected to the world of crime. If she chooses the money, she risks losing her freedom. If she chooses to save John at any cost, she may sacrifice the future she has been fighting for. But if she chooses freedom, she finally breaks the cycle. And that would make the ending much more powerful than simply catching the villains. Because Lucky's greatest victory would not be defeating Priscilla. It would not be escaping the FBI. And it would not be walking away with millions of dollars. Her greatest victory would be becoming someone who no longer needs to run. That's the journey we've been watching, from a woman waking up alone after a heist, to a fugitive hunted across the country, to a daughter confronting her past, and finally, to a woman deciding what kind of future she wants. The official Apple TV premise describes Lucky as someone who left her criminal upbringing behind, only to be forced to embrace that darker side one final time to escape her past. And that is exactly why the finale feels inevitable. She has spent the entire season going deeper into the world she wanted to leave. Now she has one final chance to get out.
one final con, one final confrontation, one final choice. And then, no more running, no more hiding, no more pretending, just Lucky, standing alone with the consequences of everything she has done, and perhaps for the first time, free. So that is the story Lucky has been building toward. A crime thriller on the surface, but underneath it, a story about family, identity, guilt, and the possibility of breaking away from the life you were born into. Lucky's biggest enemy was never just the FBI. It was never just Priscilla. It was never just Whittaker. It was the past. And now, the past has finally caught up with her. Do you think Lucky will finally escape her criminal past, or will the life she was born into claim her one last time? Until the next breakdown, stay curious. And remember, sometimes the hardest person to escape is yourself.